Good morning, dear ones. Good morning, Dr. Jay.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Doctor, do you want to wait for some more time or would you like to start now?
It's up to you. If you want to give it a few more minutes, that's okay.
We can give it a few more minutes and then we shall start whenever you are ready, Bhaiya.
Sure. Thank you. Do you know if Snehal is joining?
Not sure, Bhaiya, actually.
Not sure. Okay.
Uh, Bhaiya, should we start?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. सभी को बहुत बहुत नमस्कार. Welcome to another session today. Welcome to another knowledge session today. This would be a very calm and insightful session on understanding how simple daily choices can improve our sleep quality, restfulness, and overall well being. We have Dr. Jay Thimmapuram, who is an internal medicine physician, who will be giving us practical guides on sleep health routines and lifestyle factors. Dr. Jay Thimmapuram is an academic hospitalist in internal medicine at Wellspan York Hospital. He has a special interest in research and has several articles published in medical journals. He is a recipient of Gold Humanism Award, Outstanding Teacher of the Year, and Resident of the Year awards. He has completed research projects on heartfulness meditation and its effect in lowering stress levels and burnout and improving sleep. He's also a TEDx speaker. Welcome, Bhaiya. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Kriti. And thanks to all of you who helped organizing this event, and also to all of you who have joined today. Thank you for taking the trouble joining this session. So I'm going to share my screen, and this is a topic that's very dear to my heart, and it's about sleep. I think all of us would love to have a good night's sleep, right? Uh, so, welcome to this session and see if we can learn something together and, if possible, implement some of these choices to improve our sleep. Let's begin. I don't have any financial conflicts of interest for this talk. All right, it's early morning for you guys, so maybe it's a good time to have a cup of coffee. You can maybe stay awake for the presentation. If you feel too sleepy, that's okay. If the conditions are good, you can have a nap, and that doesn't count towards anything. But for your refreshment. If you want to have a nap, that's okay. All right, let's move on. Have you ever felt that at the end of the day, you cannot take in any more information? And sometimes when there is a lot of information that's coming towards us, it feels as if our brain cannot take any more information. It feels saturated, right? And sometimes it can trigger anger, sometimes it can trigger anxiety, and sometimes it can trigger irritability, right? I think all of us experience it at some point in our lives. Now, why does it happen? Why can't we keep taking this information, and why do we saturate, and why do we become angry? Why do we become frustrated when there is constant incoming traffic of information, right? There's a very interesting science behind it. Within our brain, we have the cells, right? We have the cells called the neurons. And these neurons are interconnected. And these connections are called synapses. And these synapses, they swell up a little bit when there is constant incoming traffic of information. And maybe that's the reason why sometimes we get a headache at the end of the day when there is a lot going on in our lives. And do you know what brings these synapses back to a normal size? What restores it to a normalcy? Very simple. Rest for the mind, something that we don't offer as much as we should, right? Nature offers it to us every night in the form of a good night's sleep. But we are the only species on this planet who voluntarily sleep deprive ourselves. We don't see cats or dogs doing it, right? And when we sleep deprive ourselves, when we do not sleep, and sometimes it's something that is important, and sometimes it's voluntary, right? This voluntary sleep deprivation takes a toll on it. It takes a toll on our mental and physical health, right? And when we don't sleep well, we feel groggy, we feel sleepy. And if we are driving, for instance, right, it can make us take a micro nap, and that can be disastrous. A lot of traffic accidents that happen is because of sleep deprivation. When people do not sleep well and they are driving, they take a micro nap which is beyond their control, and they end up with an accident. So something that we should be very aware of. It is important to get a good sleep before we travel, before we drive. There are many studies looking at what happens when we don't sleep, and some of these studies have shown that our mental health gets affected because of sleep deprivation. When we do not get enough sleep, our mental health gets disturbed. And there are studies that show that even psychotic symptoms can be seen when healthy people are sleep deprived. Very interestingly, when the volunteers in this study got a good night's sleep, these symptoms disappeared. So, this tells us that our mental well being depends on the degree of rest that we get. It is very important for us to focus on obtaining a good night's sleep. All we can do is to offer that time, offer that attitude of restfulness when we go to bed at night. When we take the whole night into consideration, right, we have a sleep that is dream rich, and there is a sleep that is non dream rich. The first half of the sleep is predominantly non dream rich. The second half of the sleep, especially early in the morning, is dream rich. We call it the rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep. Now, when we wake up very early in the morning without getting a good sleep, we are depriving ourselves of the dream rich sleep. Maybe as adults we are okay, but as children, when they get woken up early, if we have kids, grandkids, when they do not get good sleep, they cannot sit still, they cannot focus. And when they go to school, for instance, they may not be able to listen to their teachers, and often these symptoms can overlap with symptoms of ADHD. I'm not saying that ADHD is not a diagnosis, but some of the symptoms of ADHD overlap with symptoms of sleep deprivation. Maybe all that this kid needs is a good night's sleep. If we have our kids, our grandkids who would like to benefit from a good night's sleep, just try and offer a good night's sleep and see how their mental well-being improves. There are innumerable benefits of sleep that I can talk about. All of us, we would love to preserve our memory. Whatever we learn, we would want to preserve that memory, right? And this preservation of memory, this consolidation of our memory happens during sleep. If you learn something and if you sleep well, you will remember that. If you learn something but you do not sleep well, there is a high likelihood of you forgetting what you have learned. So, if you want to be good with your memory, sleep well. And even our attention depends on the degree of sleep that we get, the degree of rest that we get. If you take a night when you have not slept well, the next day it's very hard for you to focus, right? And during this talk, if you are able to focus, maybe you had a good night's sleep. If you are unable to focus, maybe it's just me, right? And even our stress levels depend on on the degree of sleep that we get. Somehow, when we get a good night's sleep, we can face the stresses and strains and anxieties of life much better. When we do not get a good sleep, life becomes a little difficult and it becomes difficult to handle the stresses and strains of existence. And some of us may also be looking at develop or having a healthy weight, right? The choices that we make, the food that we eat, depends on the degree of rest that we get, if not completely, at least partially. There was a very interesting study looking at the choices that people make when they are sleep deprived versus when they get a good sleep. And in this study, when healthy people were sleep deprived, they had food that was rich in carbohydrates, and not only carbohydrates but cookies and and chocolates perhaps, right? The choices that we make in life in general depends on the state of mind. Many arguments happen when we are sleep deprived. And when we have a good sleep, somehow it offers that emotional stability that can help us navigate through these emotional turbulences of life. Even for us to stay healthy and protect our hearts, a good sleep is essential. When people do not get good sleep, there is an increased incidence of heart attacks. And for us to live longer, a good sleep is essential. Even creativity depends on the degree of rest that we get. There are very interesting examples in this area. The person who discovered the periodic table, Dmitry Mendeleev, right? And this guy, the story is very interesting. When many scientists were trying to figure out how to arrange atoms to make the periodic table, they were unable to. And Dmitry Mendeleev was also not able to. But one night, this guy gets a good sleep. And in that sleep, he gets a dream. And in that dream, he sees atoms. And he wakes up, he draws everything that he has seen in the dream. And even today, what he has seen in the dream stands correct. What his wakeful state was unable to offer him, a good night's sleep with proper rest was able to offer him. Many discoveries happened when people got good rest. The state of mind where the discoveries happen is a beautiful state, and that can be facilitated through a restful sleep. And the other area that I wanted to talk about is immunity. All of us would love to be healthy, would love to live long, and we would love to have a body that fights off infections pretty easily, right? In our body, we have white cells that fight infection. We want these white cells to be stronger. These are our inner soldiers. When we are faced with infections, these white cells fight off the bacteria and kill those bacteria and fight off some of the viruses. There are studies looking at sleep deprivation. When we do not sleep well, these white cells within the body, they become a little weaker. Some of these cells are called the NK cells or the natural killer cells. When they become weaker, we are more prone for catching infections. So if you want to be strong and if you want to build your immunity, think about sleep as an important factor that builds our immunity. And moving in a little deeper into what sleep can do and what sleep does, right? All of us, we have our own personality, right? A very unique personality. And if I tell you that sleep plays a role in our personality, does that make sense? Let us see. Before we go to bed, all of us, we go to bed in a certain emotional state. There is this emotional memory, right? And this emotional state, sometimes we go to bed in a state of anger, sometimes we go to bed frustrated, sometimes we go to bed after an argument, and sometimes we go to bed in a calmer state of mind. And it's a whole spectrum of emotions that it can be, right? But when we go to bed in that emotional state, that emotional memory that we have just before we go to bed, right? That memory slowly gets consolidated in the highlighted portions that you're seeing on the screen. What you're seeing on the screen is our brain, and within our brain, there are areas called the hippocampi. And it is the temporary USB storage. This is where these memories land, and during sleep, the memories are slowly transferred to the front portion of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. That is our personality center. So, knowingly or unknowingly, we are forming our own personality based on the state of mind that we are in before we go to bed. So, if we are able to change that state of mind, go to bed in a calmer state of mind, go to bed maybe in a prayerful state of mind, slowly we transform ourselves just by this simple aspect of changing the state of mind before we go to bed. So, if we are able to meditate, pray for a few minutes, resolve that we are going to get better, sleep does the rest of it. It's a beautiful system that we have. All we need to do is to program it in a beautiful way. And this is a paper that talks about how the memory consolidation happens. And sometimes I get asked by my patients, Dr. Jay, sometimes when I go to bed, I wake up and I cannot fall back asleep. And I tell them there are many aspects to it. There are physical health aspects, there are mental health aspects that can disturb our sleep. But one thing that often we don't pay attention to is how our emotions affect our sleep. During the daytime, we go through many emotions, right? There are many emotional files that we go through. And some of these emotional files we process them, and some of the emotional files we do not process them. And when we do not process these emotional files, they stay inside. And during sleep, it almost feels like we have an office assistant inside us. This office assistant, its job is to go through all the files. It goes through all the files and says, you have not processed this file. What do you want to do with it? And we wake up and we cannot fall back asleep. And if we are able to acknowledge that there are these emotional files that need to be worked upon, and before going to bed, being honest to our own selves, acknowledging that there are these unprocessed emotions that still lie within, and resolve that we are going to work on them, offer in a prayerful state that we will be working on them. Somehow we send a signal to this office assistant. Now, this office assistant says, you know what, this guy already knows he messed up. Let him have a good night's sleep, right? Very simple, but it is important to work on it so that the office assistant continues to trust us, right? The other thing is there a way to remove this emotional sediment? The practices of heartfulness have a practice called rejuvenation or cleaning technique, where this emotional files can be, or the burden of the emotional files can be actively removed. And that's something that we can try to see if that can help us get a good night's sleep. When we get into the deepest state of sleep, something magical happens. Nature is so beautiful that it created a mechanism for us to function better. When we get into the deepest state of sleep, our brain waves are very slow. We call them the delta waves. It is the stage 3 sleep pattern. When we get into this deepest stage of sleep with the delta waves, the fluid around the brain, called the cerebrospinal fluid, flows through the brain, cleans up all the toxins that are built up. Some of these toxins are amyloid beta and tau, which can contribute to dementia. Right? Have you ever woken up in the morning feeling groggy, grumpy, as if you're seeing through fog? Maybe you haven't gotten the deep state of sleep. And have you ever woken up feeling absolutely refreshed? Perhaps you went into the deep state of sleep where the brain got flushed and cleaned up. Now, why am I talking about all this? Because there are studies that looked into it, how our brain works, how our system works. The plumbing system of the brain is called the glymphatic system that gets cleaned up. Now, how do we connect this with the meditative practices? I am a meditator. I've been meditating for quite some time. And I'm also a researcher. And I wanted to find out what happens to the brain waves when we meditate. Right? The practice that I've been doing is called heartfulness, where we very gently rest our attention within our hearts and try to stay there for as long as possible. And if the attention drifts, we gently bring our attention back to our own hearts. When I was meditating, my brain went into these relaxed states. And the only confession that I have is, if I had known, I would have dressed properly, but this is the only picture that I have. But what my brain did was that it went into relaxed waveforms that reflected the stages of sleep. Stage 1 sleep, where we call it the theta waves. Stage 2 is theta with the K complexes. And stage 3 is where we have what we talked about earlier on, the delta waves. These are the slowest brain waves, right? And we talked about it earlier on that when the brain waves are very slow, the brain gets cleaned up. It offers a possibility of the brain to get cleaned up. And perhaps that's what happened. And after the session, it felt absolutely refreshing. And the awareness during this state was a very, very subtle, thoughtless awareness where there was a very subtle hint of bliss. You might ask, how is it different from sleep? It is the awareness. During sleep, we are not aware, right? But during this deep state of meditation, where the brain waves are in the delta state, awareness was still present, but it was a thoughtless awareness where even the awareness of thoughtlessness came back a little later. And there is a term for that state called turiya. And this is something that yogic literature has talked about quite a bit. Now, you may ask, if we get a good night's sleep and if our brain waves are getting into this delta state, do we get the same transformation as a meditation that gives this delta state? I would say that meditation gives us the transformation the most. The reason is the presence of awareness during that deep state of rest with the delta waves is what creates transformation. Our attitude of love and devotion that we have during that deep state of meditation is what transforms us. Sleep refreshes us, meditation refreshes us and transforms us. And if we are able to get into the deepest state of rest and relaxation within a short period of time, when we come out of it, don't you feel rested, relaxed, ready to face the day? And don't you also feel that we are a little kinder to begin with? It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. And all of us would love to have a good night's sleep, right? And if we are unable to sleep well for at least 3 nights a week, and this goes on for months, we call it chronic insomnia. A lot of us have sleep problems, but often these problems are short lasting. But if it lasts for a long time, we call it chronic insomnia. And in our hospital, we took patients with chronic insomnia and we offered heartfulness meditation practices for 8 weeks. We measured their insomnia scores at the beginning of the study and at the end of the study. And we found out that their insomnia scores decreased from 20.9 to a score of 10.4, more than a 10-point drop. And this was, of course, statistically significant. But it is not just the significance of it, but the patients shared their stories. They said, Dr. Jay, we were only able to sleep for 4 hours before. Now we are able to sleep for 7 hours, 8 hours, because of which our dreams have come back. Something that I was not aware of to begin with. But as the meditative practice intensified, they were able to reach the deeper states of rest and relaxation where they started processing their dreams. And this is very interesting. And we published this in the Journal of Community Hospital Internal Medicine Perspectives for those who would like to have a look. And I work with resident physicians or postgraduate physicians, and we offered heartfulness meditation to our own doctors. We saw that when we offered heartfulness meditation practices to our own doctors, we saw that their restfulness and sleep quality improved. They were able to sleep deeper with fewer awakenings, and the time it took for them to fall asleep also came down. And this to me was very interesting because if we are able to fall asleep much faster, we can drift off into deeper states of rest. And this study won the national award when we presented. And we published the study if some of you would like to take a look at it. In addition to that, there is another interesting phenomenon that's going on globally, and that is loneliness. When we don't sleep well, it can cause or it can deepen loneliness. When we are sleep deprived, it doesn't allow us to socialize well. A poorly rested mind would want to isolate itself. A well rested mind would be able to interact better with everyone. And when such is the case, is there something that improves sleep along with loneliness? Again, we offered heartfulness practices to our colleagues, to our physicians, to our nurses. When we offered these practices, we saw that their sleep improved and their loneliness decreased. No, my colleagues ask me, Dr. J, how does heartfulness meditation affect loneliness? It doesn't make sense, is what they say. But I tell them, no, in meditation, what we do is very simple. We gently close our eyes and rest our attention on something good within our own hearts. Let us call it a source of light. When we close our eyes, it feels as if we are doing nothing, but we are doing something very important. At the minimum, we are putting up with our own selves. And then we realize that it is not so easy to put up with our own selves. And if it is so difficult to put up with our own selves, how do we expect others to put up with us? Right? But if we can continue doing it, this inner landscape slowly starts to change. And when it changes, it becomes easier for us to be with ourselves. We develop the ability to be at ease with ourselves. When we are at ease with our own selves, it becomes possible for us to be at ease with others and for others to be at ease with us. Relationships and harmony can grow. And this is what we found. We also saw that there was a greater reduction in loneliness in those who meditated. We published our study in the journal Hospital Practice. And very recently, we also looked at the practices of heartfulness and how it improves the mental health. And we looked at the gene expression profile. Some of us, we think that once we have a set of genes, we can't do anything about it. They are fixed, right? True to a certain extent. But what we do, our lifestyle plays a significant role, and it helps the expression of these genes or suppression of the genes. We want the good genes to be expressed and bad genes to be suppressed. When we offered heartfulness meditation practices, we saw that the good genes are expressed more and the bad genes are suppressed. 875 genes were upregulated and 1539 genes were downregulated. And when we compared to the control group, 292 were upregulated and 1180 were downregulated. And this is a way of looking at it. And what we found was interesting. The genes that are related to detoxification of the brain were upregulated. It also stabilized the brain, or at least the pointers that lead to stabilization of the brain. The genes that are related to stabilization of the brain, they were upregulated. The genes that are related to inflammation were downregulated. And related to sleep, there are certain genes called clock genes. And they are implicated not only in sleep but also in depression. Those genes were downregulated. Perhaps the meditative practices, the heartfulness meditation practices, helps us in many ways than what we know of, at least from a medical standpoint. And we published another study where we looked at quality of life, and this was during the pandemic, right? We saw that those who practiced heartfulness meditation, as the number of years of practice increased, the benefits continued to increase as well. People who practiced heartfulness meditation, when we studied them, we found out that sleep improved and it also reduced their burnout and increased their work engagement. It was a very interesting study that we just completed. Now, the question is, what should we do, right? Start off with simple things. Have a fixed time that you go to bed and a fixed time that you wake up, and in between, try and see if you can have at least 8 hours of sleep. This is what the American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommends, at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Our core body temperature has to drop by at least a degree or two for us to fall asleep and stay asleep. So if you can lower the room temperature ever so slightly, maybe by a degree or so, if you have the facility to do so, see how that helps. A cool, comfortable pillow can help with a good night's sleep, where the head starts to cool down, the body starts to slowly drift off to sleep. And perhaps we should learn to meditate. Electronic equipment can interfere with every living aspect. In our house, we conducted an experiment where we put bean sprouts in different locations, and we saw that the ones that are located next to the internet devices, Wi-Fi router, they did not grow very well. The ones that were away from the devices, the ones that were in the meditation room, grew very well. And staying away from electronics for at least an hour or two before we go to bed can help us get a good night's sleep. And maybe we should learn to meditate. That's our son Rohan. This was when he was very little. My wife took a picture. Her timing was perfect. So this is what I wanted to share. Some of the studies that I just mentioned can be seen on the website heartfulnessinstitute.org for some of you who would like to visit the website and take a look at these papers. So with this, what I would like to do is maybe we can, if you have time, I can walk you through a guided relaxation and meditate for a short period of time, at the end of which, if you have any questions, maybe we can take up some questions and I can answer to the best of my abilities.
Sure, Dr. Ching, that sounds good.
Awesome. So let's Begin with a simple guided relaxation. Gently close your eyes. Breathe in, breathe out, and let go. Continue to breathe normally. Let's begin the relaxation. Gently move your attention towards your toes. Wiggle them a little and allow your toes to relax. Feel a very gentle, calming, and relaxing energy entering your feet from the ground, allowing your feet to completely relax. Let this energy slowly move, relaxing your lower legs, the calf muscles, your knees, upper legs, and your hips. Feel all these parts completely relaxed. Let this energy slowly move up, relaxing the area between the base of your spine and your neck. Relax your shoulder blades and all the muscles next to the spine. Very slowly, move your attention towards your stomach area and allow all the muscles in there to relax. Move into your chest and allow your chest to deeply relax. Move on to your shoulders. Feel them getting lighter as if they're melting away. Let this energy slowly move into your upper arms, elbows, your forearms, your hands, and your fingers all the way to the fingertips. Slowly relax your neck muscles, relax your jaw muscles, your chin, your lips, and your eyes. are very gently and very softly closed. Relax all the muscles of your face, your forehead, all the way to the top of your head and the back of your head. Gently scan your whole body from the top of your head to the tips of your toes and feel your entire body relaxed. Very slowly, move your awareness towards your heart area and gently place your attention on the source of divine light within your heart. Do this in a very gentle and relaxed way. If your attention drifts, it's okay, it's very normal. Gently keep bringing your attention back to your heart and feel as if the source of divine light within is attracting your attention inwards. And gently relax into that awareness. And continue to stay there for a few minutes. Thank you. You may slowly come back to the present moment. Gently make a note of how you're feeling. Acknowledge that feeling. And very slowly, you may open your eyes. Once again, thank you all for joining and staying.
Thank you, Dr. J, for this amazing session and the relaxation. Dear ones, if you have any questions, you may ask Dr. J or you may even put it in the chat box. प्रिय भाइयों और बहनों, अगर आपको कोई भी प्रश्न पूछना है, आप डॉक्टर जय को पूछ सकते हैं अनम्यूट करके, नहीं तो आप चैट बॉक्स में भी डाल सकते हैं। We have few people raising their hand, Dr. Jay.
Yep, please carry on. Yeah.
Sister Meena, you can unmute and ask.
नमस्ते डॉक्टर जी।
Namaste. Ji.
नमस्ते। आफ्टरनून स्लीप कर सकती हूँ? नहीं।
It depends. You can. Nap is okay. Please make sure that it is not too long, that it interferes with your night sleep. For a short period of time, it's okay. And from a nap point of view, one of the recommendations is if it is um, closer to the evening time, then it will very likely interfere with your night sleep. So if you can have it uh, early in the afternoon, that should probably be okay if you are interested in taking a nap. But make sure it is not closer to the actual time of sleep.
नाइट 10:30 टू कब कब 3 o'clock मैं उठ जाती हूँ। मैक्सिमम 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock। बाद में नींद आता है। व्हाट वी कैन डू?
Oh, after waking up, you feel sleepy?
3 to 5
Okay.
मॉर्निंग, अर्ली मॉर्निंग।
Okay. So you said you wake up at 3 o'clock and you stay awake until 5:30 and then you feel asleep.
स्लीपिंग आता है।
Yeah. So if you feel sleepy and if it is convenient, it's okay to take a nap at that time. The reason is it is still in the morning time, and if you can sleep at that time, it's probably not going to interfere with your night sleep because you're now catching up with whatever sleep pressure you still have, right? You're trying to catch up with that sleep pressure and relieve that sleep pressure through a short nap. So that's okay. If you feel sleepy in the morning, if you can, if the time congenial, you can take a nap. Yes.
थैंक यू।
Thank you.
Brother Jay Prakash, you may unmute and ask your question.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Despite my prolonged practice, say for 18 years of HSP practice, still occasionally I feel sleepless uh, in the night.
Yeah, and once in a while, not being able to sleep is not unusual. If it is something that is happening on a frequent basis, then we may need to look into what's causing it. One aspect is the practice, but there are also health related situations. The physical health can also interfere with our sleep. Exercising, and if you are someone who exercises, doing it early hours is better. Any exercise that we do closer to bedtime can interfere with our sleep, because exercise increases our core body temperature, and for us to fall asleep the core body temperature has to be lower. So it's if it is not interfering with your life in general, once in a while having a sleep issue is not uncommon for everyone.
Yeah, what you said is maybe one of the reasons. This at 360 uh, recommends the exercise or of a walk at
Mm,
least for 20 minutes after dinner. So I feel when I do that, occasionally I get the sleeplessness.
yeah. So a short walk is probably okay, but if we any kind of physical activity activates our brain as well. And when our brain is activated, it becomes a little difficult for it to settle down. It takes a longer time for it to settle down. Try and see if that can be shortened, or if you can do the exercise at least 4 to 6 hours before bedtime. That way, the body has enough time to cool down, and it can help facilitate a good night's sleep. Also, room temperature, if you can lower it down a little bit and have a pillow that's a little cooler, can also help get a good night's sleep, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
We have few questions in the chat box, Doctor.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
read it out
please.
to you from Brother Ramakrishnan. I have a lot of problem while sleeping. Once in 2 hours, I wake up and then sleep. How to solve this problem?
Yeah. We probably need to find out why you're waking up, right? So that is important. Um, Fluctuations in the room temperature is one of the common reasons why people wake up. And that may be something that you may want to look into. And is it because of certain medical conditions? That I cannot say until you get evaluated by a sleep specialist. uh, Vitamin deficiencies can sometimes interfere with sleep, so that's something that you could look into. And emotional disturbances in life can also interfere with sleep, that we talked about. And if you are someone who practices meditation, try and see if you could be diligent in this practice of cleaning in the evening. And before you go to bed, meditate for a few minutes and see if that helps settle down some of the issues that you are experiencing. So, what you're talking about is fragmented sleep. And this sleep fragmentation is not uncommon, and that can have many causes. And one of the causes that we can address is by practicing some of the techniques of heartfulness and making sure that there is medical issues that are okay. And if they need to be taken care of, taking care of them would be important too.
Brother Ganga Prasad has asked, हम 3 चरणों में 45 मिनट ध्यान कर लेते हैं, पर नींद 6 घंटे से कुछ कम ही ले पाते हैं। क्या यह काफ़ी है? हम सुबह 3:30 3:30 पर उठ जाते हैं और 9:30 पर सोने जाते हैं। कृपया मार्गदर्शन कीजिए।
I mean, I can understand Hindi, but if
I'll
you could
translate. Yeah.
translate,
So
yeah.
he means that he's able to sleep around 40. He's able to do meditation around 45 minutes every day, but he can only like around 6 hours. He's unable to like the sleep is lesser than the 6 hours, and he wakes up around 3:30, and then again goes to sleep around 9:30 in the morning.
And the main question that I would ask is, after waking up, do they feel refreshed and are they able to function? Right? If they feel refreshed and if they're able to function well, then the rest of the issues of the duration takes lesser importance. If someone is able to sleep for 6 hours and they wake up and they feel refreshed, they're able to carry on with their life, then that's okay. What we talk about as 7 to 8 hours of sleep is a broad guideline that has been given for majority of people. And the litmus test is how refreshed do you feel after waking up, and are you able to function without your life being interfered with the poor sleep. So that's what I would look at. Yeah.
Uh, Sister Lalita has asked, how much time sleep in after meals in a day? Like the gap, I think the gap of the time between meals and the sleep. I mean, she's asking.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, sleeping immediately after a heavy meal is not recommended. So, the dinner time, if it could be somewhere around 7 to 8, and if we go to bed around 10 o'clock, I think that's reasonable.
I think Brother Vishambar has raised his hand. You may go ahead, brother.
नमस्कार सर।
Namaste ji.
हाँ सर, मैं हिंदी में बात बताऊँ सर? हाँ जी सर।
And we also have a translator, so I'm okay here.
जी जी सर, मैं रात को केवल 2-3 घंटे सो पाता हूँ।
Okay.
रात को 10 बजे लगभग सोने जाता हूँ और 2-3 घंटे सो पाता हूँ। उसके बाद नींद नहीं आती है, और आते भी है तो सपने आते रहते हैं, और टाइट फील करता हूँ। ये सर ये
Yeah. So, let me repeat it. So, brother said he is able to sleep for about 3 hours, and he can't sleep after that, and he gets a lot of dreams for the rest of the time. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Bhaiya. Yes, Bhaiya, perfectly.
Oh. So, at least 2 to 3 hours or 3 hours that you are aware of is your sleep, right? And lot of studies have been done where people feel that they sleep for 3 hours, but the rest of the time, even though you report dreams, there is something called dream rich sleep, right? And that sleep is also very important for the body to recover and function better. And dream sleep is important for mental well-being as well. I wanted to share a very interesting study that was done about dreams, right? There was a study done by, her name is Professor Cartwright, and she looked at people who have gone through depression, or people who have gone through traumatic experiences in their lives. Among many things that she studied, she found out that a group of people recovered and they started functioning well, and a group of people did not recover. They continued to be depressed. And one association that she had was that people who recovered, they all had dreams of traumatic nature. So those people who relived those experiences in dreams, they recovered. So bad dreams may not be bad after all. It is the body's way of processing the emotional uh, impacts that it has gone through. And it is the body's way of expelling what is not needed. So if you feel that you are having a lot of dreams, it may not be a bad thing. If you wake up in the morning, if you are able to function well, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you continue to have issues with the daytime functioning, sometimes having a sleep study, I'm pretty much sure there would be some centers in India that do sleep studies, and having one sleep study will give a lot of answers. If it is a problem, I think getting a sleep study may not be a bad idea.
We have two more questions, Bhaiya. So, one sister is asking, Sister Sunita, sapne bahut aate hain. I think she means she gets dreams a lot.
Yeah, I think we covered the dreams just now. I think it would apply. Uh, Dreams is the body's way of processing information, and if dreams are troubling, if there is a lot of issues with those dreams, right? The practice of cleaning or rejuvenation is certainly very helpful, where in the evening we try to let go of all the emotional imprints that we have gone through during the daytime, right? And that can also help clear up some of this stuff that the body has to process. And before going to bed, meditating for a few minutes, acknowledging what has happened during the day and resolving that there are areas that we need to work on and that we will work on can also help reduce the burden of this excessive dreams that you're talking about. Yeah.
Does long term meditation practice reduce the sleep quota by enhancing the quality in few hours? Sister Anjuna has asked.
It's a fantastic question. Yes, it does. With with the practices of meditation, especially when we develop or when uh, day after day we get into these deeper states of rest, right? The time that the body needs to recover and recuperate becomes lesser. So the sleep pressure goes down. And when the sleep pressure goes down, the need for sleeping for longer and longer duration also goes down. But check one thing. I- Are you able to wake up refreshed with a shorter period of time and you're able to function? Then that's a very simple way of looking at how your sleep is working. Yeah.
The last question, Doctor. So, how can people who work night shifts, will it affect their health? How to make it up?
Great question. There are many studies looking into it. Uh, Shift work does affect our health because we are trying to fight against this circadian rhythm that we all have, right? The body has its own rhythm, and we're trying to, for various reasons, sometimes it's important for us to do the night shift. So if we do have to do the night shifts and if there is no other alternative, then we try to create as close circumstances that night offers when we go to bed during the daytime. After finishing work, keeping the room pretty dark and keeping the blinds almost mimicking the night time is one way of getting that good sleep, and making sure that we don't take any caffeinated products during the daytime that interferes with sleep during the daytime. And if you are a shift worker and there are different shifts that you do, if for example you have one shift that is uh, afternoon 3 to 8 p.m. or afternoon 3 to 9 p.m. and the other shift is 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. Try and see if you can have those afternoon to night shifts early on and then move on to night shift that moves into the daytime. This clockwise rotation is often helpful for shift workers than the other way. We can stay longer without sleep than trying to do the other way.
Two more questions has popped up, Doctor. Does HbA1c7 causes sleep quality poor?
Elevated blood sugars do interfere with sleep. A1C if of 7 is it depends on the age. For elderly people, we have a little bit more margin to prevent hypoglycemias. But if it is a younger population, we try to control their A1C to the best possible extent, right? 7 reflects slightly over what is desirable, and that can certainly interfere with many things, including sleep. But it shows that there is increased blood glucose in the system, that can also increase the urination, that can also increase the thirst, that can interfere with some of the sleep that we get. So trying to control it a little bit, or trying to avoid a late snack before going to bedtime, or late bedtime meals, can help with your sleep.
Do female need to have more sleep than males?
I do not know. I'm not aware of any studies, but I may be wrong. Yeah.
I think that's all, Dr. Che. Thank you once again for joining and for the amazing sessions on the sleep and explaining us the various stages of sleep and how important it is for each one of us. थैंक यू एवरीवन फॉर जॉइनिंग। आप सभी का धन्यवाद कि आप सुबह सुबह इस सेशन को ज्वाइन किया आप लोगों ने। We will see you again tomorrow for the yoga session, and the group is open for 1 hour to put your feedbacks in. Group WhatsApp group open है, आप अपना feedbacks इसमें डाल सकते हैं। Thank you so much, everyone. See you
Thank
tomorrow.
you so much, Nitin,
Thank
and
you,
thank you,
Dr.
Gayatri. Yeah. Thank you, Sarojini.